the John Jones situation, Louis Pena. Now, I think you would have heard Chuck Liddell, though he's now retired, long since retired. And then there's the what was I going to say? Yeah, Conor McGregor. But starting with John Jones and Louis Pena, from what I've been hearing from the when I get a chance, the news channels in mixed martial arts, they have their channels on YouTube. Pena has only had an incident involving domestic violence or something similar twice. This is the second time now, and the UFC have seen it fit to cut him. But why is it this is probably the upteenth time now for John Jones, and the closest he gets to that is just being banned from his gym, which doesn't really make any. Who cares? He can just go and he can go and join another team
Yeah.
elsewhere, and he's got the name power, so that more than likely, despite all his issues and problems, they're more than likely going to say yes, you can join us.
Yeah, it's Louis Pena is a strange one as well because he had that. I think he's had one or two incidents prior. I don't think it's the same incident, but he's actually come out and spoke that he has mental health issues and stuff like that. Which for me, like if you work in any business anywhere else, employers have a well-being, like a wellness kind of policy. If you come to them and you say you're suffering from XYZ, they should then provide facilities for you or get you help, etc. You know, if I was in work and I said, look, I'm suffering from depression or this, that, the other, they would pay for it. Obviously, I don't know what way, because the UFC have them as contractors. Obviously, they're not really obligated to do anything. But it's sad because if anyone needs the help from the company, it's him. He's not John Jones. He doesn't have the money to maybe, well, I don't know, but like John Jones has not an unlimited amount of money, but he would have a fairly huge bank account. Whereas Louis Pena, I don't know. He's not a top name. He might not have that much money in the bank. He deserves the help, and rather than just release him, I know whatever he's allegedly accused of being done isn't right. I think they need to help him more than John Jones. John Jones needs to help himself at this stage. Whereas Louis Pena came out in between and said, I have mental health issues. These are problems that I am having. And they're letting him go because he doesn't bring in any money. He doesn't bring any value to the company like John Jones. Um, they did strip John one time of his belt, and that's when DC won it. And he was suspended for a short while. But like, you suspended him knowing that he's going to come back. And then on the comeback, you're going to build up a massive pay-per-view because you're going to say, here was a former champion, here's the person who took his place, who he didn't win the belt off. So it all seems marketing based to me, which isn't right. So I don't know. What are your feelings on it?
David, there was a saying that I heard once on another podcast. I don't necessarily need to say his name, because if I say his name, then I pick up the podcast. You know, you should try and, as I've been hearing, try and stay in your lane. Some of my own viewers on this podcast, or should I say our viewers, have told me. But the saying that I heard from the other source was, cash is king. You know what I mean? Cash is king. So the organization are going to go, well, people in general, especially if they're not your family or even your friends, they are going to go where the money is. And I heard this, I remember the response and the demeanor that not John Jones, that Dana White gave in response to the John Jones incident, that he gave to that particular journalist that asked him the question, we're going to deal with John Jones going to come from the UFC. Oh, yeah. And Dana White goes, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, this is what happens when John Jones comes to Vegas. You know, it's just made excuses, random excuses. But Pena, just after two mistakes, as they call it, and he's even admitted he has problems. So he's giving you warning that these are situations he could find himself in. And these are problems that potentially could arise. They get rid of him, but they don't get rid of the person who has so much controversies and so much incidents and so much trouble, let me say, following them. They keep that person, you know. So you just kind of feel it's really unfair. The other person even admitted they've got serious problems, and for certain people, and especially for men, it's not something that we do willingly. We will say, or we will feel that it's quite embarrassing for us to admit that we have this particular weakness. So we will need help along the way when we're doing something such as fighting, which takes a lot of mental strength as well to perform well when you're competing. So um, you know, I was thinking to myself just the other day when I first heard of this situation. Again, this man's got himself into a situation, John Jones, that I'm speaking about, and his boss, Dana White, is absolutely refusing to even admit there's a problem here that probably weren't even helping by allowing him to stay as one of our employees, one of our fighters. Really, we should cut this guy and let him go. Maybe the biggest, the best punishment for this individual is for them to, what's the best way I can phrase this? Let let them have a particular punishment, let them suffer a consequence that will hurt them a lot, and that is being cut from the UFC. That is ceasing or taking away their biggest source of income. I'm assuming. I mean, he has a name power, so of course he's employed by the UFC, brings him the pay-per-views and the money, but also he'll be tied together with lots of sponsors and other brands, I'm sure. But you need to give them the biggest punishment of all, I think, so they can really learn and understand that they've got a big problem and they really got to sort themselves out before they can continue doing whatever it is they love to do, you know. And yeah, like you said, it's really unfair that Pena got cut just after two incidents, but John Jones has a whole history of so many wrongdoings. You know, the car crashes where where he had a collision with the pregnant lady. She broke her arm. He left the scene. He came back after a while after the police had left and picked up some belongings from the car and then disappeared again. You know, so many issues. So not that I don't mean to waffle on, but it does shock me. But I mean, when it comes to situations like this in the UFC, like Conor McGregor, I'm sure many people will not be surprised. The Golden Boys get treated in a certain way. They have this sort of privilege that they can enjoy, where they can get away with murder. Um, I was thinking just to myself about the John Jones case. He's done so many things. I mean, the domestic violence, the car crash, the steroids. I mean, what else is there left that he has to do wrong before Dana White probably wakes up and realizes this guy has a problem and maybe we are not helping him by keeping him employed in the UFC? You know, I mean, I was thinking maybe the only thing left now is attempted murder. So,
Yeah,
yeah, you know, so it's crazy.
yeah, it could be. I actually like the point you made about Luis Pena that he came out and it's very hard for men to do. So, like, Luis Pena came out. So, for Luis Pena to come out and say his problems and the UFC to get rid of him, I know whatever he's done or whatever. Like, what does that say? The UFC care about mental health within their fighters? It's kind of a slap in the face, really, isn't it? Especially in this day and age where it's like you have the likes of Tyson Fury advocating for it, who's a big advocate for it. Um, it's kind of a slap in the face. Imagine coming and say, "Look, I have a problem," and then it's like, "Oh, I don't give a shit." But don't mind John over there. John's going to keep fighting. I don't know if cutting John is the best thing. I think maybe suspend him. I think he's refusing, not refusing, but he hasn't mentioned anything about professional help. He said he's just got demons with alcohol, and he went on a rant earlier. I think it's taken down off Twitter, but they were screen grabbed, and he said he was abused as a child and stuff like this. I'll have
Who
to
was that?
send you the source. John Jones. I'll have to get you the source. It was MMA Breeze is a page on Instagram. They had it was a series of deleted tweets from John Jones. Um, but like you said, with this latest incident, was we have to assume he's innocent until he's proven guilty. The same with Luis Pena. The same with Chuck. Um, but once it's over, maybe once it's over and it's gone to court, maybe something might be done then. But I don't see it happening because, like you said, money makes the world go round. I don't think they're in the John Jones business. He's arguably probably one of the greatest fighters that have ever fought. His only loss is a disqualification, which really shouldn't have been disqualification. But I don't know. It's. I don't want to say I feel bad for Pena because what he's done isn't a nice thing, but he was open and honest about his issues. He was open and honest about his issues, and it was kind of they don't. If you're not that guy, if you're not the guy, you're not going to get let away with these things, unfortunately.
No. No, but it's, I mean, John Jones is what, about 34, 35. Pena's even younger, I think 27, 28.
I'm not sure of exact age, but I think he is under 30.
Yeah, Pena definitely is younger than John Jones. So
Yeah.
Pena probably has so let's say more time before he has to before he has to think about retiring. So you would have thought that you would have thought that these people would have kept Pena because he's still valuable to the company, and probably told John Jones really you're cussing it because, well, I mean, he still has a few more years left in him, but at the same time, I think he's just done so many things that, I mean, this happened on the same night that, oh my God, he was inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame. I mean, we laugh about it, but how shocking is it? I mean, some people have even said, DC, excuse me, DC was saying just not too long after the incident had been brought to light that when people aren't even disappointed anymore, that just goes to show how bad, it's almost like this is expected of you. That's just how bad the situation is, so I just like I said before, I mean, what else is there that he has to do wrong before before Dana White wakes up to his senses and realizes that maybe I'm not helping him? He needs to go and probably really straighten his life out and sort himself out before he thinks of what else he's going to do with his life.
Yeah, see, they won't release him though, because you release him, Bellator snap him up, anyone slap him up. He could go into business for himself as well, kind of like the way Mayweather and all does his own
Well,
promotions.
you say Bellator would snap him up, but I mean, I'll go by the CEO, by the main person's name, Scott Coker, and the other people who own the other big names, PFL One Championship. When they see his history and what he's done, and not to say that he's the only one, it does happen a lot in the sport and other sports as well. The issue of the steroids and just other issues he has. I mean, when you take him on when you employ him and take him on into your organization, into your promotion, are you not also taking on the problems that he has as well?
Yes, but they don't care about his problems outside. Then once what they could get one or two big paydays out of him. Like imagine Jones on the Bellator card. Would probably be the biggest ratings they'd get. Have him for one or two fights, three fights, off you go. Or he could go into business for himself. And then people who are out of contract come fight John Jones. They set up like a thing. But I don't know. I think, especially after the Hall of Fame being inducted, I think for Dana, he did have that little speech after, and he didn't really say too much. But for him, like that's a black eye for the UFC to do it straight after. To do it straight after. Like,
It's embarrassing.
yeah, like there was what 8 hours in between him getting inducted and that happening. So like imagine everyone's probably telling you not to do this with John Jones, not, and then Dana White, probably is look, John Jones, that fight's going into Hall of Fame, and then people have probably been telling him he's going to let you down again and again, and then he has let down, and then it's a real black eye for the sport. It doesn't look good, but people need to realize that sport isn't the actions of one or two people doesn't speak for the rest of the sport either. That if you look across the board, most of the people are quite respectful and they live normal lives where they're not getting into this trouble. I think what it seems to be to me is if you look at it seems to be the rise. If someone has a quick rise, like he was the youngest ever champion, look at Conor McGregor's rise is quite quick, whereas the slow and steady risers seem to be more level headed. I don't know. I think it's because I actually seen something the other day. uh, a quick rise leads to ego, a slow rise leads to humbleness, or something like that. I'd have to get to quote, but whoever was Ben Hart in MMA, that's who it was. But it was basically, if your rise is quick, your ego is going to be massive. Whereas if you have to grind through, I'm not saying they didn't have to grind through, but if you go from no relative nobody to being one of the biggest sports in Conor McGregor's case, one of the biggest personalities in the world, like that would do something to anyone's ego, I would say. But
Well,
we'll see how it pans out.
the
Oh no, go
reason
ahead.
being, the reason being why slow rise, like you said, those who have actually risen through the ranks slowly, sometimes it may feel for them that they're not getting anywhere at certain stages. You have those that it's so easy for them, they rise through the ranks really quickly. Um, this might be obvious to most people, but I think when you rise through the ranks, a slow rise, rising through the ranks really slowly, I think you suffer along the way, and progress isn't made so easily. So when you achieve the successes and when you achieve the top success right at the top, you actually appreciate it a lot more, so much that you make sure that you don't do anything at all to have that success taken away from you. But if you get it so easily, you don't appreciate it, and you take it for granted, really. So you just you do whatever, you don't give a damn, you act so nonchalantly, and yeah, you have situations like what's happening to John Jones. But in John Jones's case, I think so far we've not seen the appropriate adequate consequence for the actions that he's done. you know I think when he if and I think Dana White eventually will have to cut him if he does something so serious that even fight fans don't want to see him fight anymore. They don't care about pay-per-views. I mean, when it's him on the card as a main event, in the main event fight, they just won't watch it. They might boycott it. If that would have really happened.
It could happen. I can't see it happening, depending who else is on the card. Um,
Okay.
but I don't know. We'll have to see. I think once the court is over and everything is out in the open, because at the minute you're getting different stories. John is saying this isn't true, that isn't true, of the different things, but he's not denying some aspects, which then he's obviously alluding to is true. Um, I think we'll have to wait to the court case, because UFC might make their decision based on the court case. They might. I can't see it happening, but they might. I think maybe suspend him for a year and make sure he goes and gets professional help. But we'll have to wait and see. I don't envision that. I just something will come up soon and it'll be forgotten about. Not forgotten about, but it won't be as big a deal. Connor will do something in the meantime, and the focus will turn.
But why is it there are some people? You said that some people they behave this way because they've just back when they were young, their childhood, adolescent, and young adult years, they had a horrible time. They're abused. Why is it some people who've been through that, when they get older, they learn how to just they know that taking it out on the world is not going to make things better for them, but other people do.
I don't know, because like you said, you could get two people from the same town and have the same upbringing, and then one could become a successful businessman and one could become a junkie. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's all a mental thing. I think you'd have to look deep into psychology for that to find out the reasons why there might be certain things and triggers. I couldn't really answer that question because I wouldn't know, but I say it might be certain little things that happened that might be slightly different. It might be like if their upbringing is the same and they have the same issues. I don't know. It depends on the person and your mindset and how you perceive things and how you want to look at things. And some people look and go, I don't want ever that to be my family. And then they will always strive to be better. Whereas some people would be like, oh, well, that's how I was brought up. Why isn't it good enough? Like, so what? That's what I had to go through. So now I'm going to put other people through it, if you get me. Where some people are like, no, that's not for me. I don't know. I don't know. It's a strange one. We'll have to see how it unfolds, anyways.
All right. Moving on. Luke Rockhold, and this was supposed to be like his return to mixed martial arts after quite a long hiatus or so.
Yes, against Sean Strickland. I didn't like Luke for a long time. I thought he's quite smug and quite arrogant. He still does come across that way, but I think it's probably because he's fighting Sean Strickland that I like him a bit more, because I don't like Sean Strickland for some of the things he said about Palestine. And apparently he wants to be the first person. He wants to be the first person to kill someone in the UFC in the cage. Um, and just the way he talks, he's a bit of, I don't know. I was looking forward because Luke is really, really fucking good. Like Luke is. Have you ever seen the video of his question mark kick that goes around? So the
It's
question,
question
he's a,
mark kick.
yeah, it's where you bring it up and you kind of stop it. And it's a video of his. If I find it, I'll send it to you. It's amazing. He's good on the ground. He's good. His kickboxing. He tried to go up the weight class to like heavyweight, and Blachowicz knocked him, like broke his jaw. He had two. Well, the two knockouts he had was Romero and Blachowicz, and everyone says he's got a weak chin, but like Romero and Yan are two heavy punchers. I was looking forward to it. I think it's something got to do with his back, he said, and he's had to pull out. So I think there's a few people putting the name forward for that one. So were you looking forward to his return?
I did hear about a thing from one of his other teammates from the AKA gym in San Jose. They mentioned on their podcast, and I didn't really listen to what they said. I just saw it in passing when I was flipping through the YouTube my home feed, and I saw in the title that yeah, they're just saying what they thought about him coming back to them fighting. So that kind of I sense I was thinking, yeah, this guy's gonna come back to the octagon at some point. I think he's just about on the edge of on the boundary of retirement. He's what, 37 now, isn't it? So
Is he that old? Yeah.
he's still fairly young. Not what okay, and by mixed martial arts terms, that's still fairly young, but that's still young, but he's not too far from retirement. What do you call a question mark kick?
I'll have to show you. That's what it's called, a question mark kick. It kind of, you flick your leg up, you kind of keep your knee behind, like you keep your leg bent, and then you just flick out your knee at the last minute and catch them in the head. Google it. Google Luke Rockhold question mark kick. It's kind of.
So sorry, you just saw me watching that. God. Sorry, I'm just thinking how ridiculous I was. It looks on camera there, my mouth open. Sorry, just a lot of things I see in the sport still amaze me, still shock me. So I just saw how he does it so easily. Yeah, he cranks his leg so that his between his calf and his thigh, it's like a 90-degree angle,
Yeah.
sort of. And then he just moves his whole leg around to kick you.
Yeah.
Ooh.
See, that's what I was looking. That's what I was Wonderboy Thompson does it quite a lot as well. It's a good kick. I wanted to see him use it. I wanted to see how he would be after a long layoff, and especially like moving back down to the weight class. But we're not going to see it now. It's going to be someone else that steps in if Sean accepts a new opponent.
Well, yeah, I'm sure he still wants to fight. So of course, Sean Strickland will definitely accept a new opponent.
He doesn't want to accept Bilal. He said he wants someone that's going to have name value and get him closer to the title.
I know,
So
but
he said,
I think he said he will accept Bilal when they're going back and forth on Twitter. I think they don't like each other, do they?
no, because he was making he made the comments about Palestine. I can't remember exactly what they were, but they weren't nice comments. So Bilal called him out on it. So that's what they've been going back and forth. But at one stage, Sean said he didn't want to. Sean had said previously, "I'll fight you in the car park. I'll fight you anywhere." And then he said, "No, I don't really want to fight someone who doesn't have a good ranking and doesn't have name value to get me close to the title." But Gilbert Burns also said he'd fight him as well.
Yeah. So, that'll be an interesting fight. Yeah, Gilbert Burns.
Gilbert, yeah, I think Gilbert would beat him. He just probably lay on him, but I don't know. Like they're two welterweights coming up. Sean's a big lad. Then between welterweight and middleweight is what 170 and 185. So if he's cutting a good bit of weight, so imagine how big he'd arrive in on fight night to fight one of them two. But I think he will get a fight. I think he will accept someone. He has to.
Yeah, no, of course. I think this should have been the main event for that card, isn't it? Should it? I haven't checked.
No, I think he was fighting that. No, he was fighting on. It's the one in MSG.
Madison Square Gardens.
Yeah, it's the one that has just Usman, Kobe, Justin, Chandler.
Oh no, sorry. Then no, that will not be the main event. So if I remembered, Usman will be the main event.
Yeah,
yeah. And then sorry, that's a mistake.
And then because to be fair, it would be a main event for a fight night. It wouldn't be a main event for a pay-per-view because the pay-per-views obviously because they've no crowd with the fight nights now. They want to get the most out of pay-per-views, which is so like it's big names on the pay-per-views. Like the next 60 days or like I'll send you a list. I've seen a list somewhere of the fights in the next 60 days. The cards are stacked. The pay-per-views are stacked.
Okay.
So who would you like to see Sean Strickland face?
I'm wondering, looking at remind me, Gilbert Burns fights in, is it lightweight or would it be welterweight? Welterweight.
He's welterweight. Yeah.
Sean Strickland is more in the lightweight, isn't it?
He's middleweight, so it's in between.
So one of them would have to, one of them would have to make weight, isn't it, to match up in the class, isn't it?
Yeah. So either Gilbert would have to come up or Sean would have to come down, but I can't see Sean coming down. But Gilbert, obviously, if he cuts a bit of weight, so he might not have to cut as much weight to
Right, Gilbert Burns cutting weight. But Gilbert Burns already, looking at him, he looks like he's really quite a big guy.
Yeah, so I don't know how much if he has to cut to get down, but I'd say he does have to cut a bit because you notice they all cut a good bit and then all of a sudden they're really skinny. Not skinny, but they're light. And then the next day back on fight night, they're boom, extra 15 pounds back on once they rehydrate. I'd say he's probably the closest option to get fight. I'd like to see Gilbert Burns fight.
Yeah, of course. And then no. You asked me about who, like, Gilbert Burns.
Yeah, who would you like to see?
No, Gilbert Burns, but then I think that would really change the whole dynamic because I do see Gilbert Burns taking the win. Because
sorry.
His stand-up's really good. I mean, he's really good. I've seen he's really good with his hands. When he fought Kamaru Usman won, but Gilbert Burns is stand-up. I mean, he's ferocious with his fist when he's punching and hitting his opponent. Just the jabs coming almost like a coming out of a machine gun.
Yeah, no, his stand-up is very good, but he's actually a black belt jiu-jitsu as well. So no matter where the fight goes, he's very well rounded. So I think he would beat Sean Strickland, and hopefully that's the fight I'd like.
Yeah, of course. And then Sean Strickland probably be hating Luke Rockhold for pulling out the fight. Well, I wanted to cover how Rockhold and Strickland were dissing each other on social media, but okay.
Yeah, we can. No, we can as well. They went back and forth. Strickland was saying that he wanted to fight in the street fight at the car park. So like it was a little bit kind of childish, I thought. It's kind of meatheadish the way he was approaching it. And then a lot of people said, yeah, you don't want to meet Luke Rockhold at the car park. Like, so this isn't what it is. Like, what did you make of the whole exchanges?
Well, you made a comment earlier that Strickland had made a comment about Palestine. And I know that even wherever someone who originates, at least whether it's through ancestry or through the parents, or, migration, whatever, if they originate from that part of the world, anything that happens there, wherever they are in the world, whether it's the US, the UK, Australia, South America, Russia, anywhere, If something happens there against their own people, they do feel it, even if they're not there physically, suffering with those people, wherever they are in the world, they do feel affected. But what was the comment that Strickland made
I
about
can't remember about Palestine.
yeah.
I don't know the exact one. I'd be able to get it up. Um, but it was basically saying don't feel sorry for them or something along those lines. I think it was, Will Harris Productions. Was it Will Harris? Will Harris that does the Tom. He done the thing on Khabib. What was it called? The something of a fighter. Autonomy of a fighter. It was on one of his. He put up something about Palestine, and Sean Strickland wrote a big paragraph about how it was their own fault, and I don't feel sorry for them, etc., etc., which rubbed a lot of people up the wrong way.
It may be silly to ask this, but I think automatically because the two people that are going that are having the conflicts in that part of the world, the Palestinians and the Israelites, and the Gaza Strip.
Yeah,
the Palestinians and the Israelites. So I was assuming that if he made that comment, then maybe is it first of all his background, Strickland's background, is he of Jewish descent?
I actually couldn't answer that. I don't know. That's a good question.
Because again, they're the two people who are arguing about that place, and when something like this happens, they feel very, very, very angry towards the other side. So, but I could be wrong.
He could be. That's a good question. I don't know. I'll actually have to look into that.
I can check it right now, even. But I mean, why shouldn't people feel sorry for the Palestinians? And why did he say that? If you remember.
I don't remember the whole context of it. I don't remember the whole context of it, but that's why Bilal doesn't like him, and a few people don't like him. And I get we live in a world now where sometimes you can't say too much, and people take offense easily. But it was something that a lot of people, like even myself, was kind of like, "Whoa, there's a lot of feeling of hate there." It's not something that was said off the cusp or was out of humor. It was like, "Whoa, that's deep." I don't know the whole, like, I would know bits and pieces about what's going on over there, but I wouldn't know enough to comment, and I wouldn't know enough to take a side, and I wouldn't know enough to put a paragraph like that on Instagram, vilifying one side or the other, because it's not really my thing. I don't know. Like I said, if you can find out if he's from Jewish descent, maybe that will tell us why, if he is.
Look that up quickly. Let's see. I can't see much here. And even such as the sources that I think most people go to, such as Wikipedia, that has even to some extent, in the past, it has sometimes been discredited as not always being completely accurate.
Yeah, Wikipedia. Because you see, after someone loses a funny way or gets knocked out in 13 seconds or something like that, that someone changes their Wikipedia to something kind of ridiculous. Because
I can't see.
You can't see.
I can't see much. No. I see origins of certain nicknames. Yes.
Have you seen Strickland's reply to Luke pulling out? Because I actually haven't seen anything myself.
I think maybe the guy he insulted. I saw it, but I was seeing so many other things after that. I think he insulted Rockhold, and God, the guy, I've noticed the guy does talk a lot. He insulted a Rockhold, probably called him a bitch or something like that for pulling out the fight.
But I think it's a herniated disc or something
Yeah,
like that. If it's
yeah,
something in your
yeah.
back, something like that, that's something you can't really go into a fight with. He's not going to be able to train. Then, like, how much damage are you going to do in there? What do you make of Sean Strickland's comment saying he wants to be the first one to kill someone in the octagon in the UFC?
You know, and I'm going to generalize here a little bit because he won't be the only one who has said some really, really bizarre things in this sport. Well, in regards to him, what do you mean by killing? I mean, do you mean that just as a figure of speech, or do you mean that you actually want to,
No, he actually wants to physically kill someone, is what he said. He
as in
wants to
taking someone's life in front of,
life.
well,
Yes, I think that's
if,
actually the way he phrased it. Was he wants to take someone's life in the cage?
um, well, the obvious one is that that's very, very, why would you say that? That's crazy and bizarre. And why would you want to do that? I mean, what are you thinking? At the end of the day, excuse me, this is just a sport. Okay, it really is just, it's just a game, and yeah, it's a brutal sport, but at the end of the day, you're not in there trying to hurt the other person. You're gonna hurt them, but you don't want to actually hurt them whereby you start to cause them harm in the set in the case that they start to lose their life. I mean, why would you want to do that?
I have no idea that because that's a pretty fucked up thing to say.
Yeah,
Deontay
yeah.
Wilder says Deontay Wilder said something similar as well, didn't he? He said we get paid. This is like we get paid to do this, and it's my God given right if I take someone's life in there. So why shouldn't I if I get paid? Like I just do you think it's said for the factor of like wow, like is that why people are talking about Sean Strickland, or does he actually genuinely mean it? Like if he genuinely means it, then he needs more help than John Jones. Like
Okay, well, that's, well, again, um, I haven't said this before, but where John Jones is concerned, he's done so many crazy things now. What about what he's said and done that the media and other people don't know about?
yeah,
Maybe he said something similar like this in private and probably just never been brought to light of the media and to the public. So, you know, uh, what's his name, Strickland and Wilder probably they're not the only two. They're not exceptional cases. You never know what's being said and what's being done behind closed doors.
true. But as a promoter, if you heard that, would you be like, whoa, no, you want to kill one of our other fighters? Like you actually want to take someone's life? I know obviously it would never no, it could get to that stage if they get injuries or whatever. But if it was a case that he went after the bell or kept going, it'd be broken up.
But
But
what's the promoter's main concern after putting on a big fight? I mean, Dana White's a really good example. Cash is king. I said that before. And John
it's
Jones, go on.
yeah. No, go on.
And John Jones, with all the things he's done, the car crash, the steroids controversy, the domestic violence, and just even the things he said, I think he's probably done and said it all now. That the only thing left that we have to see him do is probably murder, attempted murder. That's probably the only thing we have to see him do, and maybe they'll wake up Dana White and his friends at the UFC to probably cut this person because, again, if you know if this is what one of your employees is doing, and they're tarnishing their name, their image, what does it say about you? If this happened to any other ordinary person that works for maybe any other corporation, a retailer, or any other company, if they actually saw or heard that they'd done something so disgusting, so immoral, they'd actually sack them. They'd be dismissed. But in this case, you just don't know what to say sometimes.
Yeah, but no, in relation to Sean though, more so, he doesn't bring in the cash. He's not a big name. I only know Sean Strickland because he said he wanted to kill someone.
Mm, yeah,
He had a
yeah.
fight there recently. Who he fought Uriah there recently. Um, like if you're a promoter and someone says they want to kill someone, like I wonder, does he mean it or is it just a wow factor? I don't know. I think he might mean it. Like some of the stuff you can pull up, there's comments he's made and DMs he's sent to people. And like he's a pretty intense guy, and pretty full forward. So I don't know if I was a promoter, I wouldn't like someone to say they want to take another fighter's life in the cage. But then again, is it just fight and talk? I don't know.
They would actually probably just I just so a thought came into my mind that might actually prompt other fighters not to fight you, not to want to fight you.
Yeah, it could because yeah, imagine going, it's not like he doesn't want to win, he wants to kill me. So he doesn't want to beat me and go up the next day. He wants to kill me. Then imagine going into it. But then again, you're gonna get some fighters like, well, fuck him, I'm gonna beat the fuck out of this guy.
Absolutely. Uh, Leon Edwards, Jorge Masvidal. Jorge Masvidal. Um, that's set for UFC 269. I mean, the most that I know about this, well, I could say Leon Edwards seems to have had so far, he's on a winning streak and seems to be fighting all these names that carry weight in the sport, especially the UFC. I was still surprised when I saw that picture of him and Nate Diaz, the promotional poster, just coming off my Instagram news feed. I was surprised when I saw that he beat Nate. So far he seems to be working his way up the ranks in the UFC in his weight division.
Yeah, he should have got shot about 4 fights ago when he was on an 8 fight win streak. He's been there, but he doesn't have the name value. Like when like he took Nate apart. Nate had one part in that fight. That was it. That whole fight, Leon absolutely fucking annihilated him from
Yeah.
start to finish on the ground, on the feet. Um, he should have got it, but he's not the name. So he called out Jorge years ago. Once Jorge with the tree, when Jorge hit him Joe out the back and hit him with the 3 piece on the solar in London or Liverpool. When and then after Jorge knocked out Darren Till, that's when his rise kind of he'd been around for a while, but his kind of rise to superstardom was coming. I think Ben Askren was next after that. Um, they'd obviously gotten that altercation, and then Leon's been calling him out for years and years and years, and Jorge wouldn't take the fight. People reckoned Jorge wouldn't take the fight because Leon would beat him. But obviously Jorge has had 2 back-to-back title shots, and when the name apparently got put to Leon, Leon said no, he didn't want to fight. He wants a title fight next. But then he's obviously realized the UFC are like, well, if you don't take this fight, you're not getting a title shot. And I think it's sad because, like I said to you earlier in our message, the rankings really don't mean fuck all. They don't want Leon. Leon's not marketable. He doesn't market himself. He's
Mm.
very like he's starting to speak a bit of shit now, but he's not really a big shit talker, but he's starting to do it now. I think he's probably just pissed off with not getting like 12 fight win streak. The only other person I can compare that to is Tony Ferguson, who only got an interim shot after 12 fights. Like you go on a 12 fight win streak in your division, do you not think, especially look at Jorge got 2 back-to-back shots. Jorge only got the fight because of his name power, then lost the fight and then got an immediate rematch off a loss because he didn't have a full camp. So could you imagine Leon beating 12 guys in a row and then Jorge gets the next title shot again? Which I don't know. What do you make of what do you make of what do you think of Leon?
To be honest, up until this year, 2021, I had not heard of this guy. No, really, I'd not heard of this guy. So I think when was it that he was supposed to fight? It was earlier this year, isn't it? They were supposed to fight They used to call the other guy Khabib 2.0, but I think he
Uh,
caught COVID.
Kamzat, Kamzat Chimaev.
Well, yeah, they had 3 fights scheduled. But on each and every one of those fights, something happened, and so the fight had to be either cancelled to be or be rescheduled. And so I think on the third time that something had happened, I think the UFC had actually sat up and said, no, this is enough. We need to do something about this. I think Dana White said, no, we need to actually sort this out now because it's getting ridiculous and it's not fair on Leon Edwards. So they put Bilal Muhammad in place of Chimaev. And in that fight, Edwards was winning. And yeah, he was winning, but unfortunately had to be stopped after the second eye poke. Muhammad just couldn't continue. But you say about what I think of Leon Edwards overall, I think, yeah, it's a good fight size on a winning streak. Obviously, he's putting the work in, he's doing well. I think on some fights, like the one I mentioned earlier with Bilal, maybe in that fight he got lucky, but you could see in the rounds leading up to the stoppage, he actually was he actually was winning the fight. So I think in that case, yeah. But I still feel that somehow it would have been better if the fight had been finished in a proper way. Because the eye poke didn't really make it fair for Bilal, but it is what it is. But overall, I get what you mean about the marketability. Fight fans need to be excited by you, and if they're not excited, they're not going to feel compelled to tune in to pay for the pay-per-view or for the ticket, whatever. They're not going to feel compelled to tune in to watch you fight, whether they love you or whether they hate you. I mean, that's what's happening with the other person, that YouTuber.
Yeah, we won't mention his name. I was right. We move quickly on because I was just thinking, can we get through one without it?
No, but I get the point that you make, that many other people make about the marketability factor. You know, the same thing can be said about Usman's nemesis, Covington. You know, unless if you're acting in a not so nice way, then you know you're not so exciting to watch, that sort of thing. So I get it, but is he marketable? Well, I think he can be if he changes the way he is. But I mean, some fighters such as GSP, they've never been the source of crap. They've never been the source of, rude, whatever, bad boy sort of fights, and they still, that he's in the Hall of Fame and still respected by a lot of people. So I don't know. I think it depends what the fighter's like, and it depends what the organization thinks of you, and it depends what the fight fans think of you.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we're the ones that are going to be spending the money, so you have to appeal to us. I like him though. Like for me, I like a bit of both. You like the skill and I like the marketability as well. Like, but I think that's why nowadays the rankings don't mean anything, and it's kind of a shame because you're not really getting the best guy all the time. But like you said, this cash is king. Money makes the world go around. If you're not going to sell the fights, then you're not going to be in the fights.
Yeah.
Like, and the UFC will make no bones about it
Oh, of
because
course.
Conor McGregor will come off a 5 streak loss and get a title shot. You know, Conor McGregor, if Dustin Poirier has the title when Conor McGregor comes back, Conor McGregor gets the title shot after having two losses back to back. Albeit one was broken his leg, but like 12 fights, he should be getting a title shot. He should be, and it's unfair on Leon. I think it's not that he's a good or bad guy. Like, and if he changes, then he's not really going to be authentic to who he is. I just think people find him uninteresting. That's it. They don't dislike him, but they're not overly invested. So I don't know. I think it'll be a fun one. I could see him beating Jorge, but Jorge could, like, I would say Leon will win. Is my prediction, but Jorge could catch him because his boxing is so slick. His boxing is so slick that he could shoot him up either. I think Leon has the best, or not Leon, Jorge has the best chance in round 1 and 2. And what pay-per-view is it on? It's only going to be a 3-rounder, is it? It should be because it's not a title fight
Well, it's not
and it's
main
on a
event.
U and it's not main event. So unless they do, I don't know because they've had two non-title fights, non-main events, 5 rounders, but that's with the Diaz brothers, which is really strange. Unless they do a 5 rounder, but so it's going to be going for 3. So I don't know if it's 3 fight, it actually favors Jorge maybe. But I still think Leon will do the business. I think Leon's come this far. Nothing's getting in the way of that title shot.
Of course,
And
of
if they
course, yeah.
don't give it to him after this, what do you do?
But the marketability thing, again, it goes back to what you said about rising to the ranks. You rise through so fast. I think your ego could just destroy all the hard work you put. If you rise up through the ranks slowly, then you appreciate what the success you're achieving. But you know, in this sport, mixed martial arts, especially in the UFC, and sometimes even other organizations such as Bellator, whereby they say the way they treat the fighters, when they treat everyone involved in the promotion, actually, it's almost like one big family. But in this sport, I can see that if you don't behave a certain way, you're not going to get anywhere. People are not tuning to watch you fight. The promoter doesn't want to turn you into a star. You're not going to be getting fights, not going to be earning any money. So it's like if you can't be yourself, or if what you really are like doesn't fit into a certain culture in mixed martial arts, especially in the UFC, then it's like the odds are stacked against you, even though you are a really good fighter.
Yeah, it's Colby Covington is a prime example of that. His character wasn't really conceived until he fought Damian Maya, and I think he had 1 fight left or 2 fights left, and the UFC said, "Look, he hadn't lost a fight or something, or he was unbeaten." And they said, "Look, we're going to cut you," even though he was winning. Like no one, you're not interested. No one wants to watch it. Very wrestling heavy, and then that's when he came out with the Brazil, you filthy pigs or whatever it was in Brazil, and then he created his character to be the way he is now because people fucking hate him. So he obviously knew people weren't going to like him as the person he was. Like Leon, he was uninteresting, so he made himself interesting, and you can see with Kobe, he's taken this. It's more of a wrestling kind of gimmick he's taken to it, but I don't think Leon wants to not be himself. I think he wants to just. I think he goes on the thing like you've said before with sports. People should rise up and they should fight to be the best, and I think that's the way he goes. And it's unlucky that we're in the age now that it's not like that. Unfortunately
Mm.
for him, because he should have 1 title shot, and I think he will beat Jorge and he will get the title shot. But you never
Never,
know in this game.
when I would say never, I still, I still can't forget what happened. Wasn't back in 2018 with Ben Askren. Not even 10 or 20 seconds into the first round, and Ben Askren was already down. It was already dropped.
5 seconds, the fastest
Okay,
knockout ever.
even shorter.
Fastest knockout, and it would have been 3 seconds if the ref had got there quicker. It was that quick. Um, and then so he's had 50 fights as well. He's been around a long time. He's a veteran. He's only been knocked out once, which was Usman.
Mm.
So imagine having 50 fights and only being knocked out once. So the problem with him was he had too many decisions. He had too many decision win or losses, and he went away. I don't know if you know this, unless you really look into it or into what he wants. He went away for a year and he done like a reality show, like I don't want to say it, like it's like a kind of they went out to the woods or something. It was like a reality show. He had no phone, he had no nothing, he had no contact with the outside world. It was kind of like a sports version of Big Brother or something. And he said he had a lot of time with himself then. And he was able to think, and he just thought to himself, I'm not going to let this go to the judges anymore. And then that's when he came back and he knocked out Darren Till. And then his rise just went from there. Um, so that was the problem. So that's like, and then the character and all, not the character, he was always like that, but because he was only getting decision wins, like if a fighter's only always getting decisions, you're not going to really want to, not that you're not going to want to watch them all the time. Um, and then he completely changed and his trajectory after Ben Askren, he just kept going and going.
So he went to the woods to a rural area, almost like where people cut off from all sorts of all forms of civilization. And
Yeah.
for a year, I think that's probably something that John Jones might need to do.
Yes, that might be.
Because I'm not gonna repeat what I said earlier about that guy, but I think it might help. It may not change John Jones completely, but at least it might get him. It might start. How do I put this into words? It might put him on a path on a journey whereby he starts to rebuild his life, right all his wrongs, and get just gets I want to say at least no, just change his whole perspective on just how he thinks about things, how he does things. Because I mean, just the last thing that happened just after being given such an award, despite even all the steroids controversies and all the issues with doping and cheating, was given such a prestigious award from the UFC. On that same night, he still got caught up in the sport of bother. Um, just goes to show how serious the problem is. So, what Jorge Masvidal did, maybe John Jones needs to do something very similar.
Yeah, Jorge said what it gave him was it gave him a lot of time to think. And especially in today's world where you've got social media, the life John Jones would be living, he'd have a nice big bank account. Like even myself, even maybe yourself, how many times you actually stop and sit down and just kind of think and really deeply think to yourself about things? Like if you're living the fast life like him, he probably never stops to sit down and think. Whereas Jorge said that like he was able to sit down, he'd no distraction, so you've no phone, you've no contact with family. And then I think it'd be good. I think it would actually be good, not for the length. I don't know what length of time it was. It was only a few weeks. I don't think it was for a year. He hadn't fought in a year, I think, but it was in that time. It was like he got voted off or he done challenges. And if you didn't complete the challenge, you went. Um, so like to have no family, no one, and then it's sort of be like a finding yourself kind of exercise. And I say it actually be good for everyone, not to that length of time to an extent, but a couple of days maybe. Um, but that could be a resolution for John, but I don't know if it will be. Uh, but Jorge, he's under. Obviously, he lost to Usman twice. Like he didn't want to fight Leon for a long time, and now the roles reversed. Obviously, now they are fighting because I think Leon sees no other way to the title, and Masvidal I think sees this as if he wins, and maybe if Colby wins against Usman, he might get a shot again. Because I can't see them if he won. I can't see them giving him a shot against Usman again, a third one. Like when you're 0-2 against someone, I can't see you getting a third one unless it wasn't a decisive win or it was controversial or something.
Oh, this sport is a crazy, crazy place, even as a fight fan. God. Ah, it's crazy. So I think last thing, well, if you want to still cover it, the what predictions you want to make for UFC Vegas 40?
I think Aspen Ladd will take it. Like we were talking about earlier, she's good on the feet. I think she's only one
Mm.
decision. I can't remember exactly, but the majority are knockouts. She's good on the feet. She's still only 26. It's very rare you find uh, in women's MMA someone who has like a record of 9-1. I believe it is, because they're kind of tit for tat usually, other than standouts. So I think she will win. Orlovsky is fighting, and I think so. I think Asmala is going to win. Orlovsky's fighting, and the guy I think is 11-1, and I think he is submission. I think he's got a lot of finishes as well. But Arlovsky has been very good to grind out decisions against a lot of these lads lately. So I don't know. I might go with Arlovsky. A lot of people won't go. He's probably the underdog, but I'm going to go with Arlovsky. He's been there. He's a former UFC heavyweight champ. Uh, he's been around. He's fought the best of the best. I think he might grind out a decision. I think people go in and underestimate him because of his age, at 42 years of age. Like, to be going that long is just unbelievable. Like, uh, he got some mad record of like 32 wins and 14 losses, or it's probably more losses, but I think he might be I think his opponent might take him for granted, and I think Oraski might grind out the decision because there's been fights where he's been hurt and he's been able to, like, his skin has been tested, he's dropped, but he's got back up, so he still has
You,
fight in him.
you say more losses? No, more wins. 31 wins, 20 losses.
No, sorry, I meant more. Because I said 14 losses, I meant maybe he has more than 14 losses. I wasn't sure the exact number. I know he's got 38, 30 something wins, but that's what I wasn't sure because I looked at it earlier. That's why I said 14 losses. I said I'm not sure. Maybe it's more. I wasn't sure exactly how many losses he had, but it's a crazy record when you look at it. Like, who else has a record like that? Like, with that many fights?
I looked at Volosky and I looked at his opponent. And his opponent, who is Felipe. He Volosky looks in better shape because when I look at the people, the guys and the girls who are going to be fighting in the upcoming card, I look at their last fight. Volosky looks like he's in better shape than than Felipe. Not to say, well, doesn't mean you can't fight. You can still fight, but I mean, in that weight division, Volosky does look like he's going to be a bit faster. Well, because he's in better shape, I think he is his stamina, his just how he'd be moving in the cage will be a lot quicker than Felipe. I mean, God, Felipe looks with you can see his stomach and guts hanging off of his shorts and whatever. But excuse me, that shouldn't mean anything. I could be wrong. Or, they're not on the night of the fight. Things can change because each side will go and will go and study their opponent and see what their weaknesses are, see what their strengths are, and then they'll come up with a plan in their head how they're going to go and what sort of stance they'll take in the cage, and just how they're going to go about fighting their opponents. So I could be wrong, but looking at the two guys, I say that the other guy, Volosky, despite being 42 years old and Felipe is only 26, Volosky may have the upper hand because of his fitness overall.
Yeah, and then he's been there, done that, so he knows
Yeah,
how
yeah,
to survive
experience.
onslaughts as well. So, I'm going to go with Orlovsky as well, the co-main.
Mm.
And Aspen Lad, who are you going to go for?
No, I
Same.
think so. Volosky for the co-main event, and then for main event, yeah, Lad, Aspen Lad. Gonna hope I'm speaking to smart clearly. Because she does not did, but she does look like her stand up's really good. Stand up and her ground game's really good. Um, when she was fighting her last opponent, who was her name starts with the K. Kuninskaya, Yana Kuninskaya, back in 2019. Um, she was really even on the ground, she was seriously dishing out some serious blows and some heavy strikes onto her opponent. So, yeah, she seems like a really fiery opponent. Dumont probably not as ferocious, so I'm gonna go with Lad like yourself because looking at how she was in her last fight, she looks like almost like a female version of Michael Chandler. Yeah.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. So I'm gonna side with her for those two fights.
Yeah,
How do you
I think that we could be completely wrong, but because I
okay, yeah.
think Aspen Ladd's only lost is to Jermaine Durandamy, I believe, who was a featherweight champ until she gave it up, and or no, she was she featherweight or was it bantamweight? she won one of them, and then when she realized she had to face Amanda Nunes, she gave it up.
Who was this?
Jermaine Durandamy. Well, she didn't. She said she had an injury. She bet Holly Holm for the title. I think it was featherweight. She bet Holly Holm for the title, and immediately relinquished the belt because she had an injury. Because the only other person in the weight division is Amanda Nunes.
Oh God.
Or was it? It was.
Yeah.
Sorry, it was Amanda or Cyborg. It was Amanda or Cyborg. It was, and everyone was like, "What the fuck? You just win the belt and
Oh,
say,
choose the poison. Choose the choose the poison.
yeah, yeah, exactly." It's like, who do you want to get murdered by next? So that's her only loss. So Andrea Germanry, I believe, was karate kickboxing champion, or a kickboxing champion, maybe. So Aspen Ladd looks like she's gonna have a bright future. She's only 26 as well, I believe. So
Yeah, 26.
yeah, so she's got a bright future ahead of her, but she's in the bantamweight. Who's bantamweight? Shevchenko, I think. So what's like when you get to the champions of the divisions?
I can't find that. Well, take me a while to get there. But Shevchenko, given her fight record, I've seen her fight. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if she's a top ranking fighter in that weight division, though.
Yeah, I thought the champions between her and Nunes. I can't see them being moved from their position for a long time. I think they're way ahead of the pack, and everyone else needs to catch up to their level. So, but with Aspen Ladd, she looks like she's being brought up the right way. Like she's not being thrown straight into the fire. Build her up, give her the time, kind of like work your way through it. So, like, and if she hasn't fought, what you say her last fight was 2019.
Yeah,
Yeah, so she's been out for a while. I think she's
yeah,
had a couple of fights cancelled. I think she missed weight or something, and the fight was cancelled before.
yeah. I think it
So,
was her that she was struggling or so at the weigh-ins. Did she what? Well, I saw that there was a title or a clip or some sort of source online that so this is lads struggling to make weight or something.
oh yeah, yeah, the really
Yeah.
bad one, the
Hmm.
really bad one where she was actually physically shaken, and
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, and it's actually that's not the first time she's missed weight either. So, uh, I don't know. I don't know what way it's gonna go. But no, I think the fights this weekend will go the ways that we predicted, and then we see what the future holds for her. She's a good prospect, but
Mm.
you need to be making the weight.
Last but not least, Conor McGregor. Does he do this because he needs to stay relevant while his leg is healing? Because some people, such as GSP, who, okay, he's a different kettle of fish. He's retired, so he doesn't need to, he does nothing to do with the sport anymore, except for that boxing match with Oscar De La Hoya that everyone is what everybody wants to see. But what are the tweets? You said to me that when should I say it? Should I? No. Okay, if you want if you
No,
want to
but
say it, go on.
no, it's kind of. I think what he's doing is, I think he put up the tweet about Dagestanis. I think this is all trying to get Khabib back. I really, really do. I think this is all trying to get Khabib back because he's replying to Ali because he knows Ali will reply and reply. Whereas if he wrote to Khabib, Khabib wouldn't directly say reply to him through Twitter. But this all started because Khabib made fun of Conor McGregor. That's how it all started. Conor McGregor wasn't saying anything until Khabib came in with a tweet because in Russia, three or some lads tried to protect some girl, I believe. Don't quote me if the story is not 100%, but some lad got beaten up by three Dagestanis and was awarded a medal in Russia because he had tried to save that girl and he got beaten up. And I think Khabib put up a picture of Conor in the octagon when his brothers were attacking him and said, "Where's my medal?" laughing fit or something like that. So basically roasting Conor McGregor. So then Conor went back, and then Ali came back. And I reckon this is all just to get Khabib out of retirement. And because I just don't think he gives a shite. He's fucking hundreds of million in the bank. He doesn't. And I don't think he really cares what people think of him anymore. And like we said about with John Jones, they're not getting rid of, they're not going to get rid of Conor. So, like he even says it in one of the clips, he goes, I live a life if I do what the fuck I want. So, I don't know.
You see,
Some of them were quite offensive.
you see, do you think he would say that if he did something that would involve causing harm to someone to the extent that that person lost their life? Because you see, from what you just said, the statement he's made that I live the life where I do whatever the fuck I like.
Yeah.
It's almost like saying I'm invincible. No one and nothing can touch me.
But I'm pretty sure that's how he feels, especially with his rise, the stuff he's done that he did, like you said with John and stuff. The UFC won't get rid of him. He's so much money. He's starting fights on the fucking red carpet and the VMAs. He's constantly in and around, in and around. So I don't know what the whole thing is. He just doesn't give a fuck. That's it. He just doesn't give a fuck. Doesn't care. He's too much money. Why? He doesn't give a fuck what anyone thinks. Like, cause like what you said to Ali, what was it? I hate you, bro. When you die, I celebrate.
Yeah, I heard that tweet. I read this tweet. Jesus, I was, you gotta be careful what you say. God, I mean,
He doesn't care.
and I know it's boring to be talking about this because by now it's something that people just they're used to. I mean, do you see him also guessing inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame?
Yeah, 100%. First
First,
UFC double champ simultaneously. He's the first person that's held two belts at once. So he will be 100%. He will be.
you see, but at some point you have to cut. At some point, I'm sure this goes for everybody. You do at some point have to start paying for your sins, don't you? Or not? No, this guy, right?
Well, karma's going to come around. Um, if you do bad things will happen to you, they say. But at the moment, he's just living the high life. I reckon he's just drinking and having fun, and he doesn't. I think it is like you said, stay relevant. He wants to stay attached to the game. I think he thinks because he mentioned before that the fight game is what have you done for me lately. So if you haven't fought in a while, you're going to be forgotten about. So I think he doesn't want people to forget. The people, no matter if he sat at home and done nothing for a year and didn't tweet and no one heard from him, if he then came back, people are still going to tune in because it's Conor McGregor. Um, but I think it's when he went to go the humble good guy route with Dustin the first time, then he got bet, and people had said we want the old Conor. That's like so. We think it's the mental games that helped him. So maybe he went fuck it. I'll just go back to doing what I was doing before. So there's a line there we don't know. Like is he overstepping the line though? In some of the things you're saying, because
Or
people are saying, "Oh,
could it be that based on what you're saying that about they want the old Conor back, the fight fans they don't want the nice guy Conor, they want the old Conor, the bad boy Conor back. Maybe he's doing it just for show, for marketability. So, but I mean, when he goes as far as saying that you want to kill someone or dance their grave when they die, you're gonna laugh and dance. That's a bit over the top.
it is a bit much." Him and Ali have this strange relationship. It isn't something I'd ever say. It's not something I'd ever want someone to say to me. It's not something that I'd expect from anyone in an organization. The hatred between the two of them, like I'm gonna say, I'm not gonna defend Connor in what he said, but Ali Al Disease, I can't pronounce second name properly. He inserts himself in places he has no business, and he is he pokes at people as well to get these reactions out. Not to
Wait,
get these reactions.
Ali, is he the fair skinned guy?
Ali is the guy he's the manager of Khabib. It's Khabib's manager who he's texting.
God, I may
Or
I may sound so stupid and foolish now, but is he Ali? Is he fair skinned and bald, no hair?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
He was the one that was in the casino trying to fight Colby Covington. He's the one who's always tweeting out. He actually had control of some of his fighters' Twitters, apparently, and he was the one tweeting them and tweeting fucking talking shit. So Ali's no angel himself. Um, like he will turn around. Like when Conor McGregor loses, he texts him, "Oh, you fucking stupid bitch, fucking pussy, blah blah blah." You know. So if you're gonna say stuff like that to someone, and then they come back and be like, "Fuck you, I hope you die," I celebrate. Like Ali's not innocent himself. Like Conor maybe shouldn't have went as far what he said, but it's almost like every time you do something, you've got some fucking guy tweeting you who isn't even a fighter, and he's calling you Mac Tapper. And Ali's had 3 MMA fights, and he's had 3 submission losses, and he's calling you Mac Tapper or fucking Tap Machine. And then every time you lose or every time you fucking post something, maybe that's good. He's fucking tweeting you, you're a fucking piece of shit. Like that's the kind of stuff Ali does. You know, so Ali himself inserts himself into these situations. As a manager, Ali's quite good. If you look at the stable of fighters he has, he's quite good. Maybe that's why he's I don't know, but like he has a genuine love for his clients and the fighters. But I think there's a level of like if you're gonna call Conor McGregor out for not being professional, you need to be professional yourself. Like it's like a junkie calling a junkie, if you get me. So
Yeah. Oh God. You prefer people to be nice and just have some morals, but then if they are, then of course you're not going to tune in to see them do what they're good at, are you? No, so you know you can't have it both ways. So, oh, what the fuck?
there's some of the tweets, and then the lady who tweeted then as well, he said some things to her. I can't remember. He said something about big nose or something, and
I
then
saw that. Yeah,
you need to put a mask over that, man.
I saw that as
Uh,
well. Gosh.
um, but we shouldn't be laughing at that. We're giving out about a sweet one minute and then laughing at the other one. But like he's like with the amount of love he gets off people, I'd say the amount of hate he gets off people as well is unreal. So imagine, I'd say he's turning on his phone every day, and to know yourself, you're getting your mentions or your messages or whatever. You imagine how much his is blowing up, and it's all hate. Imagine living in that negativity. I know he's done some bad things or whatever, but every day you're probably like, people, I hate you, I hate you. Imagine waking up and having to check. For me, I wouldn't, if I was that big, I wouldn't even go on my phone. I'd set up a WhatsApp with my friends or something like because I wouldn't be able to. Some people can look at it. I think, like Joe Rogan says, he doesn't look at his comments anymore and stuff. So he just does his podcast, puts it out there. Doesn't look at any comments because people are so negative, so negative. So, but Connor seems to relish in that. He like, but then he's going around, he's tweeting stuff like he is to that woman. But if you go back to the original one that she had I think she called him a rapist or something. And obviously there was apparently allegations, but
Yeah,
none of
yeah, that was.
nothing ever came of that. So like, is it right to call him that either? Like, so is what she said to him not worse than what he replied? Because he's not convicted. He was never. I don't know if he was charged or not. I don't know. If he was charged, he would have went to court. He wasn't convicted. He wasn't charged. There was apparent allegations that these events had happened. Um, so you have to look at it. Her tweet is more offensive than his in a sense because she's essentially what she called him.
Well, that's a serious allegation to make.
Yeah, he just said you need to put something over your face. Like she called him a rapist. So I don't know.
Well, it's a serious allegation that she made, but then the person she's accusing has a very, very interesting history. So, one
Yeah,
will
but like
wonder. No,
Where shit, like, who's this lady? Like, but like I said, he hasn't been to court. He hasn't been charged. So, like, yeah, we live in a world where you should be innocent until proven guilty. So,
mm,
as much as people like to say they know, no one knows the whole events of anything that's happened. So, like, if you don't know the whole events, you shouldn't really speak on it.
yeah,
So, the sort of way, I'd never turn around and say he is this or is that, because at the end of the day, there might have been rumors and there might have been allegations, but nothing has ever come to light of them. So, and it was never, oh no, he was named in America, but over here he couldn't be named. It was Irish sports star, because you can't legally name someone in a allegation like that because you get sued. Whereas in America they were able to name him, but nothing ever came of him. So I don't know. I think he needs to stay away from his phone when he's drinking. I think that's the main issue. Um, because he gives someone will say something and then he'll go a step too far.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but people, I'd say he's just waking up and being antagonized every day. I wouldn't even look at my phone. Like, if you had that much money, you would your 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 partner and your kids. Like, would you want to get brought down into that negativity of seeing these people saying this stuff about you all the time, and then to react to them? Because when you react to them, then you're giving them the fuel to keep going,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
more people are going to do it because they all want to get the reaction of Conor McGregor. They all want Conor McGregor to do this to them. So,
Mm,
look, that's his own issue. I'm not going to worry too much about a man who has hundreds of millions in the bank and doesn't give a fuck about me.
of course. Oh, David, it's been good. But I need to start doing this much early, at least no later than, well, even earlier in the evening, 7 p.m. But because of work, no later than 11 p.m. at night or in the evening. God, it's been good. We should be having, is it Dre
Uh,
Miley?
yeah, it's Trey Miley. It's Sunday. I need to double check the time difference because he said 2 p.m. where he is, which I believe is Knoxville. So, and I think we're 5 hours, so 7 p.m. Sunday. That's good for you, yeah?
Yeah, that's one. Yeah,
Yeah. So I'll get back to him tomorrow because I told him it was okay, but I just said him we had this today and we talked to because I'm really interested. It'll be nice to actually have a first guest on. So he's going to be coming up. We'll be doing it Sunday, but then obviously it'll be maybe what Wednesday before the actual interview gets out, something like that. So
yeah. I'll
I'm actually
try.
looking forward to this. Sorry.
Because we're no, well, okay, well, yeah, I can talk about this. The When doing the interview, I'll try to edit it into the next podcast episode,
Okay.
and of course, I'll try and
Okay.
upload that sooner than Wednesday. Of course, I got my new webcam, so hopefully I can record it with the webcam, not my phone.
Okay.
So
So after we talk to, oh, we'll talk. We can talk about this after.
yeah,
Um, Yeah.
sure,
But yeah, so we're gonna have Dre Miley on. It'll be next week. Really interested to hear his story. Fighter with one eye,
yeah,
Michael
yeah,
Bisping like. Although Michael Bisping only had it for the end of his career, he hasn't had as many fights, Mike Bisping, but it's an interesting story. And I'd like to like we'll be able to go in detail with it. And I've watched one or two of his podcasts before because it was actually an Irish podcast guy. I put up who do you want me to do a video on? And he said Dre Miley, and I went and looked, and I was like, oh, this guy has one eye. And then I went back and I listened to it. He's really chill. Like, we'll talk about his story, and then he'll sit and he'll talk about the UFC with us and that sort of thing, and he'll give his views on different things. Really cool guy. So
mm.
looking forward to talking to Dre.
All right, guys. I'm afraid. So I think we will wrap things up here. Guys, if you did enjoy the content, enjoyed our video, our podcast today, please don't forget to leave a like. We are now at 100 subscribers. I know it's not many people out there, but thank you. We are very, very grateful for all the people who have been supporting us throughout this journey since we started. And yeah, anything else you want to add?
No, like, subscribe, hit the notification button, and
Yes.
that's it. And then what I'm gonna do is obviously on my platform on Instagram, like we can we both like. I will then promote this through the other one as well. I don't have. I've a third of the followers you have, but with the likes of the Dre Miley and all coming on, I'll promote that, and then I've put out that we do a podcast together, but I don't know if we're getting much follow up from that. But if we have the likes of Dre on, and if we can get more guests on, hopefully it'll keep going in an upward trajectory for the subscribers.
Sure thing, man. All right. Till next time.
See you later. Thank you
See
very
ya.
much.
Take care.
Thank you.